everybody. I'm Angel Morgan, and welcome to Raising Energy on Rogers TV via Zoom. Today, we are all decked out and ready for Halloween season. Oh, I love this time of year. It's my favorite time of year. And today we have a wonderful, fun, special guest and a fantastic episode all ready for you. I would like to welcome Glenn Laycock. He is the director of the Ontario Paranormal Society, the York Region chapter, or TOPS York Region. So welcome, Glenn. How are you today?
I'm doing great. This is awesome. I'm so glad to be talking to you.
I'm so glad you're here. We're going to have so much fun because we're going to talk about not only one of my favorite topics, but also a favorite topic for a lot of my viewers. We're going to be talking about ghosts, haunted houses, and we're going to be talking about paranormal investigation. Now, before I let you tell everybody who you are, what you do, how you got into all of this, I have to preface this with being a psychic. One of the things that a lot of us kind of go, yeah, I don't know if that stuff is cool, is gadgets, technology. Right? For us, it's all about, we've got to tap in on the spiritual level on a very pure, energetic space. But I will tell you, I went on an investigation with you. Mm-hmm. And my mind was it was blown. So, Glenn, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what is the organization you work with. Let's start there.
Okay, a little bit about me. I guess you could say I never ever believed in ghosts of the paranormal, ever, until I bought the house that I'm presently living in about 14 years ago. And the first day I was here, I had a door violently slammed in my face. And I thought, well, that's odd. and then it went on from there. We would hear whole conversations going on in our basement. People would come over and they would actually say to us, is there a TV on downstairs? Because we can actually, it's like, no, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's fine. And then when I saw a lady standing in our kitchen, that was sort of the real that's what I realized. Yeah, that's what I realized. Okay, there's something not right here. Now, what I found was I didn't have anybody to talk to. No, like you try to approach a friend, and they go, "Sure, it's on." Then they do one of these at you, like.
Yeah.
And I actually, I hope it's okay to mention these people, but I had no one to turn to, and I went to the hedge witch.
My favorite second home.
I went to the hedge witch because I didn't know who to turn to. I was driving by one day and I went, hey, maybe they can help. So I went in and I walked in the door and there was a lady standing behind the counter, and I went, hi, and she went, hi, whoa.
Diane, that's Diane, the store owner.
She goes, what is going on with your house? I didn't even told her anything yet. And we had quite a conversation. And that's sort of how I realized, okay, I'm really dealing with something here. And so as time went on, I thought, I know what it's like to be that person who has no one to turn to and no one's going to believe you. So I started acquiring equipment and building my own tech. And then I eventually formed a team. That team, we did quite well for a while. Then after things happened, the team broke up, and I was sort of going to get out of it for a bit. And then the Ontario Paranormal Society approached me. That would be the director, Tim Buttersworth, and his assistant director, Jen. They approached me and they said, hey, would you like to start an expansion team in York Region? And it'll be your team, you run the team, and you pick your own people. And I said, I would absolutely love to.
And you know what? They couldn't have picked a better team captain.
Well, thank you.
I have to say, I was so impressed with the entire evening when I was there. It wasn't just about the experiences that I had or the team had that night. It was how I felt the team worked together. And it's really cool because it's been my experience with a lot of these kinds of teams that a lot of people walk in there and they don't really understand what the work is about. They don't understand how to respect spirit, deal with the situations they're given. And I felt like You really got it. And that was really important, not just for you, but for the team and for the spirits. And we had a really, really interesting experience. Yeah.
Well, one thing I did tell my team when we assembled is I said, "Oh, everybody's watched the TV shows. Forget them. Just put that aside,
Wow.
file that. That is not how things really work." And as far as the team members that I have, I mean, my assistant director, Darlene, you met Darlene.
Yes.
Her and I actually, our parents were at each other's weddings. I mean, I've known her my entire life. I think we actually used to be in the same crib, like in the same playpen together when we were younger. So uh now, so when I was picking my own team, that was a no-brainer because it's someone I've known for so long. I could trust her. And then my other team members, Justin and Jen, you met,
Mhm.
they have just a passion about, just they're like a sponge. They just want to learn. They want to learn. And they're fantastic. And yes, I provide direction, but I also like to give my team members the freedom to kind of experiment a little bit, do some things safely, but
Yes.
try things.
So
And
what is, okay, so it's really interesting. You just brought up a topic that I do want to talk about, but do you work with the same team regularly? I know you have guests and invite people, because I know I was one of them, but your core team is the same. Do you ever invite other people to come and work with you on the team level, on that technology level?
There's another person we invited recently who came along, and again, she actually does a paranormal blog. So I said, why don't you join us for an investigation? So as opposed to hearing other people's experiences, you can actually experience it for yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
And so she came along. So most of the time, it's just our core team because we
Yeah.
know each other, we trust each other, and that's a big thing. You want to be able to trust the person that you're with. You want to make
Yes,
sure that person's going to
absolutely.
be there to protect you. You're there to protect that person.
Okay, so that's the next step for me, is talking about what that means to be safe in a paranormal investigation. What I'd like to do is talk about how an investigation works and how that happens step by step. But what is that safety thing? What is that protection thing? Talk to me about
Well,
that, because I know, and you and I are going to chat about it, but from your perspective, what does that mean? Why?
it's watching each other and how each other are reacting. As an example, I did an investigation some years back with some other people, and nobody really caught it at first until someone saw it on the camera. They saw me on the camera, and the best way I could describe it is I was jumped, and I was sitting there. And all of a sudden, my head was bobbing, my eyes were kind of, and honestly, I didn't know where I was. I didn't
Yeah.
know. I was completely out of it. And then somebody saw me on the camera, and the people that were around me didn't actually notice it. And then so the guy on the walkie-talkie said, "Can you check with Glenn? Is he okay?" And somebody tapped me on the shoulder, and I remember I couldn't hardly stand up. And once I left the room, gone. I was totally
Fine.
gone. I was
Yep.
totally fine. And that's a way, like when I say protecting each other, you're watching each other, making sure that
Well,
you know.
yeah, and I get that, because when I work with house clearings, and again, going back to the hedge witch where I was trained, we were always in groups, right? Because the reality is it's like a house that you're going to renovate. You take down one piece of wall, and then you don't know what else is going to be there, right? There's always a domino effect, and you don't know what to expect. So it's always good to have other people working with you, and we've actually had those circumstances too. So I totally get it. There was a question I wanted to ask you about yes, right. Thank you. When it comes to your team, the one thing I noticed is you have some people who are extraordinary on this team as well. You have sensitives on this team.
Yep.
You have people who didn't even really know what their gifts were. You, Justin, unbelievable, right? We explored that all of a sudden was like, oh my God, you're the reason that some things are happening here, and that was really cool.
Well, it's funny when you say about Justin because we had done an investigation just prior to the one you came along with,
Yep.
and I at the time I didn't really clue in on it, but I said there's something wrong with my K2 because every time you hold it, the lights are going off the scale here. And I take it back. What's going on? Then I found out later it did it again when you were there. You're being attacked by a cat, and
Yeah, I am. This is my co-host. This is Whitey. Everybody knows her. She's Boss Cat. This is actually her office, and I'm borrowing it. So, but I digress. Go ahead.
but yeah, it's just like everybody has some ability. Like that's one thing. Like Darlene, she's always been very sensitive to things. Jen has always been extremely sensitive to things. I'm more the practical side of side of things. I've been told in the past by different mediums that I've talked to, hey, you have some abilities, and I always go, no, I don't. No, I don't. And they always go, well, yes, you do. And I go, no, it's okay.
Yeah, you're what I think we would call, I mean, you channel, but you tend to draw the situations to you, where Justin draws the spirit. It's like the situation calls to you, and you're the gatherer, the one who brings everybody together.
That would make sense, because I've had on many occasions, we just had one recently where I had a person standing near me, and you actually heard the impact of something hit me in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I always seem to be the one that gets poked or punched or slapped or something. And that
yes, because you're the one they want to get the attention on, but you're also the lead, right? Yeah. So when you are the lead, you're the one who's actually exuding the most energy and the one who's going to be the magnet. So that makes sense. And it was so cool the night we were together, because I was downloading information and the story, and all of a sudden, like, okay, this is what we need to do. And you just stepped back and you were just like, you know what, do whatever she's saying. This is all good. And to me, that is the key to a good captain. It's not about, I felt terrible. I was just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm over. It's the first time here. And you were spectacular. You just let everything flow, which is why we were able to help those spirits cross over.
Well, I figure if you have a good team and you have people that you like, I have full confidence in your abilities. And things were happening, and I thought, no, I'm going to step back and let you do what you're going to do. And I'm the same way with my team members as well. There are times where I've stepped in. I've had a team member, well, actually, have said out loud, "Hey, you're welcome to touch me if you want." And I just, no, they're not. Yeah. Oh, what do you mean? I said, you don't ever do that. Don't ever invite anything to touch you. Yeah, ever.
That's right.
And I will step in if I see that there's something that's happening that's not safe.
But again, that's leadership, right? Knowing when to and how to dance, right? So that's the way it works. So so let's talk about actually, you know what? Even more fun question. I got so many questions for you. Sure, there's so many things going through my head. I got two questions. What has been your favorite investigation to date?
My favorite investigation to date, and I always talk about this one, and this is one that was down in the city, and this house had so much activity, it was just nuts. It was absolutely just craziness. You've seen the EMF detector. We use a K2. We also have a Gauss meter and electromagnetic field.
And just so everybody knows, we're going to be talking about those things later. He's going to let us know. He's going to be our dictionary. So okay.
So basically, it's your appliances, your lights, your wiring will give off electromagnetic field. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that field normally, if you on a Gauss meter, will show up, we'll read it about 0.5 to 0 to 0.5 milligauss on a Gauss meter. This house, I was getting a reading of 145. Now that is an equivalent reading if you lived your entire life beside your microwave while it was running. That's unsafe. The lowest reading I got in the house was at the electrical panel. That should be the highest reading in the house. And this place, the activity was off the charts. This place, when we were setting up, I had a camera that was on a mini tripod, just sitting on a table. Mm-hmm. Still setting up, we heard a crash. And I looked over, the camera had been tossed about 6 feet across the room. It was recording at the time. So when I played it back, you actually see the camera do a 180-degree turn by itself and then pop in the air and then land on the floor.
Oh, how very poltergeist.
And every time you walked in the house, if you listen very closely, you'd walk in the house and you hear a man's voice go, "Who's there?" Step back out, go back in. "Who's there?" Mm-hmm. They had one room in the basement that they, again, this is when I was still a bit of a rookie. They had one room in the house where they wouldn't even go in because they would see glowing red eyes in this room all the time. Yeah. So I actually went in the room by myself, which is a big no-no, but I'm a rookie. I went in the room by myself and I said, "So is anybody here with me?" And this low wolf howl went through the entire room. Wow. And then on the audio recording, you hear me go, "Cool."
And I think that's it, right? Is the fact that some people are just made to do the work they do, right? I think, there are those who are very frightened of it. It's like, oh my God, I don't think I could do that. Well, no, you couldn't, because that's not what you're made for, right? But you're obviously very made for this. Now, why do you do this?
I do it because it's fascinating to me. And I'm still a skeptic. I am trying to disprove everything. So I try to
Yes.
prove everything, but I do it because I find it fascinating. And like I said, I know what it's like to be that person who's experiencing things and nobody wants to believe you.
Yeah.
So I want to be there for people to say, hey, look, I believe you. And also, when I say that, I don't charge for it. We
Yeah.
do not charge for paranormal investigations. And that's, I know some teams that will, but we just don't. And because we're doing it because we just want to do it. So sorry, back to the question again. What was the question?
So the other thing I wanted to talk about, you brought it up yet again, nice segue. You can be very much a skeptic. Now, what's really funny is when I started, I didn't believe in any of this, right?
Yeah.
This was not my thing. So I was actually out to disprove it, not prove it. It didn't fascinate me. I just wanted it, there's got to be a limit somewhere. But what's really interesting is the night that we were working, one of the jokes that was going on in that night is that, is it an orb or is it is that a little bit of dust going across the camera? And now I haven't seen this footage yet, so I'm eager to see it. You were saying that there was a moment where I was working with, because I ended up having to cross over some spirits, that you couldn't deny whether it was a dust ball or an orb or something happening. And I find that interesting because there are moments for you where it's undeniable.
Yeah, well, there's some footage that I got, and it was the first bedroom. It wasn't when you did the clearing. This was the first bedroom when you went and sat down. And you went in with Jen and Darlene.
Okay.
Three, you sat on the floor, and just as you started to talk, this little ball of light shot out of that room so fast, but it had a tail about that long behind it.
Right.
That's not an orb. An orb is just this little way they go. But it actually shot. It was almost like it was running away. But it was the tail that caught me, and it was just a shimmering tail behind it.
How does that feel for you when you get those moments of validation?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it because there's something there. Like I'm going to tell you about another one that I got. This was at a house in near Georgian Island. It was on the shore. It was a parcel of land that was sold off, and there was a subdivision built there. Mm-hmm. These people were trying to sell the house. Every time an agent would walk people in the house, the people would walk in and go, no, and they just leave. They just freaked them out. They wouldn't come in.
Yeah.
So we went in there. This is again, where I made a bit of a stupid mistake. At one point there, I said, because we weren't getting much, and I said, hey, I don't think you're here. Why don't you try to prove me wrong? And I jumped about a foot, and something took a swipe at me and put 2 claw marks down my butt cheek.
Wow.
And burned for about 2 hours, just burnt. But also, we got a recording there where one of my team was saying, initially she said, are you here? Was this your land? And she's saying, it's okay, you can talk to us if you want to. And after a few minutes, a deep male voice, they didn't hear at the time, but it was on the recording, goes, donkey. Well, we looked it up, and I actually talked to someone at a school that teaches Ojibwe. Donkey is Ojibwe for I am from, or I am here.
Oh, wow.
That is cool. Like, that is like, oh my God.
You can't make this stuff up.
No,
right?
Like that's the native language of the band that lives there, used to live there. Like, wow.
Yes. But just the idea too, that you thought well enough to go, okay, is that a word that could be from a different language? Like a lot of people would turn around and make that assumption. Donkey means that, yeah, he was a farmer, or yeah, this was his land. They make that assumption. You actually go and dig, right? And that's really cool.
It's because of where it was located. It was because of the parcel of land that it was located on. I mean, it wasn't a native burial ground or anything like that, but it was a parcel of land that was owned by this band and was sold off. So my first thought was, okay. So I actually sent an email. I actually posted it on Connecting in Georgina and said, does anybody know what this means? And somebody came back and said, that sounds like an Ojibwe word. So she sent me her email address. We went back and forth and she checked, because she actually teaches Ojibwe.
Wow. And see, that's it, right? Everything comes together, right? Especially, and that's really what I believe too, is that when you're working with spirits, when you're working with ghosts, what you get is always going to be validated in some way. It will always be revealed to you, right? Whether it's for you or for the healing of that spirit or the house or whatever the situation is. And I think that's really cool that you followed that thread. So what's your scariest moment? And I'm
It was
going to
not,
ask that.
it was
Everybody
not,
wants to know.
it was not paranormal, but it was at an investigation. Again, the house I told you about down in the city in Mississauga.
Mhm.
I had actually it happened the night you were there too. I had my camera, just the battery just got sucked dry. It went from 2 hours of battery life down to nothing. So I'm in the dark and I'm pitch black. You can't see anything in front of your face. I'm using like the braille method to try to put the battery back, a fresh battery in my camera. And one of my team members walked up behind me and right in my ear, I didn't know she was there. She went, "Boo." Honest to goodness, I almost fell over. I went, "Don't you ever." Oh my God. I thought my heart was going to jump out of my throat. I was like, "Oh my God." That is probably the scariest moment I've ever had in my life.
What is the most famous place you've investigated?
The most famous place I've done Picton.
Or have you?
I see. I don't. This is where I might be different than other investigators. There's paranormal investigations, and then there's ghost hunting.
Oh my God. Okay, what's the difference?
Ghost hunting is where people will go to a known location where thousands of people have been there, and they go in and they just go, "Let's set up and do an investigation." Well, to me, that's not an investigation when you've had 1,000 people a year going into the same place. I have a bit of an issue with that, and maybe I'm being silly, but if there is such a thing as a trapped spirit,
Yes.
do I want to be one of those people that's there every day poking it with a stick going, "Hi, can you hear me? Hi,
Yeah.
hello."
And it's really interesting because I have a friend and she's very gifted at release. So when a spirit gets trapped, they're looking to heal something, right?
Right.
And she's exceptionally gifted at that. She has ruined many a business because she goes in and her thing is I can't handle, like she literally cannot physically handle the idea of people going and show ponying these spirits.
Mhm.
So what she does is she goes in and she will do a healing for the spirit to release it.
Right.
And she will say, if you want to stay and you're choosing to stay, that's one thing. But if you're trapped here, I'm going to help you move forward. Right. And that's what she does. But that's important to understand that what you're saying. And it's funny because I was doing the promos for the show for like Instagram and that kind of stuff. And I kept wanting to put ghost hunting and something kept stopping me. And I'm like, no, that doesn't feel right. No, I got to use the word investigation. So now I understand. And see, look, I've been doing this for over 20 years and there's always something to learn. And I love that you have now defined that difference between a paranormal investigation and ghost hunting.
Yes. And again, that might not be that might not be textbook, but that's how
it may not be official, but that's a very good definition though.
It's like now if there's a large site that no one's ever been to before, then I'm fine with going in with that, with the team. The Civic Center in Georgina. I did it.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah. Are you talking about Pioneer Village in Georgina?
No. I'm talking the actual Civic Center building.
Oh, no, I went, I'm telling you, almost the first year I started doing this, I was invited to the Georgina Historical Society in the Pioneer Village. And the experience I had there was one of the most phenomenal I've ever had in the doctor's office at 2:00 in the morning. Everybody had left. I was the last one on the property and I was leaving. As I hit the door, I saw this swirl of light. And again, I don't use technology. I can see. I am the technology. And all I heard was, "Oh, please don't go, all these different voices." And, I was new and I was just like, I can do this. It's okay. Just be gone. So.
Well, I have been in that building. The original team that I started with, that's where I met you the very first time.
Yes, actually, it was.
But, this is the actual building, the Civic Center building. It used to be a monastery before it was the Civic Center.
No.
It was a monastery. And so all the offices upstairs used to be bedrooms for the monks and the priests when they were being trained.
That explains so much. When I walk in there, all I keep getting is this feeling of church, and I can never understand why.
There are some areas there, even in the a lot of that is still intact. You go down in the basement of that place, there is an area where they used to have to go to serve penance. And so we were down there, and the mayor actually did it with us. The mayor she's amazing. She did it with us. So we were down there. We're sitting in the dark on this concrete floor, And I said, so anybody want to talk to us? And this boom, you actually felt the vibration in the concrete on they were sitting on, just went boom.
Nice.
And I looked at one of the girls and I turned on my flashlight. I said, is that normal? She goes, nope. But we at one point we recorded an audio of a voice saying the fire's out. What we did is to kind of mix things up. I try to mix it up where we'll send all male, then all female, or vice versa, and then we'll mix up male, female, and send them through just to see
Why
what
do you do that?
reaction. What's that?
Why do you do that? Why do you choose to
see what elicits a response? With that one, we decided to send all female through first through the offices upstairs because they used to be the bedrooms for the priests. So that's gonna get a reaction.
That's going to get some sort of response.
And sure enough, we got audio of a man's voice saying, "Stop, stop, unholy, leave." And that to me is interesting. Like, actually, we did that at a church once. We sent an all-female team through, and we recorded a man's voice. This is the oldest church in Toronto. We were down there to do this church again. We're the first people to ever go in there, the only people to ever go in there. And when we sent two females together through, right away they recorded a man's voice that went, "Hey, bitches."
Wow.
And we wouldn't have got that, I think, if we had two guys going through, or you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And you mix it up. You just mix it up to see what gives you a response.
So
yep.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to stop you.
Oh, no, it's okay.
When we come back, we have like 1 minute left. Before I go on, I want to make sure people know that if they're having any kind of and we're going to talk about this in the second half, any kind of activity, any questions that they have, where can they reach you? Where can they find you?
On our website, topyorkregion.com, or on our Facebook site, Ontario Paranormal Society York Region Chapter. They can send us an email. They can send us a message. I don't put a phone number on there. I just have email and messaging. And
on your Instagram as well, I'm assuming.
Instagram as well.
Yeah, because that's a big one for me. So I love when people go to @Raising Energy on Instagram, and you'll actually see some of the things. I have a couple of pictures there from our night as well. But yeah, that's so amazing that you've had not only these experiences, but okay. So we have 30 seconds. So when we come back, we're going to talk more about not only your experiences, but the technology. You're going to walk us through a night of investigation, and we'll talk about some other fun stuff that will come up, and we'll just go from there, because I'm having such a great time, Glenn. I hope you're having a good time.
I'm loving this. This is great.
Yeah, I know, me too. And I hope everybody out there is going to come back and join us right after these messages. And we're back on Raising Energy on Rogers TV via Zoom, and we're talking about paranormal investigations, haunted houses, and ghosts with Glenn Laycock, the director of I can never remember if it's Tops York Region or
the Ontario Paranormal Society York Region Chapter.
Yeah, because I like the short form. I'm Gemini. Everything has to be fast and quick.
Okay.
So we were talking about experiences that you've had, and in the break, you were telling me there was one story you wanted to talk about, and how skeptics actually helped a family. And this is really important for me, because I really believe, being a psychic, that skeptics are to be respected. I was and still am a skeptic on many, many levels. And I feel that everyone has their place. So why don't you tell us that story? We'll start there.
Well, the biggest thing for me is when we do an investigation, I want to disprove it all. I want to just disprove it all, because really hauntings are, like, you talk to anybody, oh, this is haunted, that's haunted. Hauntings are actually quite rare.
Yes.
And but people will think, oh, my house is haunted. And we had a family who they were convinced, they were terrified. There was a mom, their two kids, they were all sleeping in the same bedroom because they were terrified. The daughter's bed was vibrating at night. She was seeing faces in her room. So we went down there, and after spending a couple of hours, I finally said to the mother, I said, there is nothing going on in your home. I'm telling you that there is. There's something. And I said, no, really, there's not. She goes, my daughter's bed is vibrating at night. And I kind of saw what was happening. Their daughter was 12. I said, can we talk to your daughter for a second? So her daughter comes in. I said, now, I want you to answer me a question really honestly. Are you sleeping with your phone under your pillow? And she goes, yeah, because I saw the power cord sticking up under her pillow when we went through the bedroom. And I said, okay, so we're not going to do that anymore. It was her phone vibrating at night under her pillow. And then the mother says, but she's seeing faces and shapes. And I said, I know. And at the foot of her bed against the wall, there's about a 5-foot mirror leaning against the wall. She's seeing herself at night. So remove the mirror. So they removed the mirror. Everybody's back in their own bedrooms again. Nobody's afraid anymore. And that's where being a skeptic really helped somebody.
But that's it. You have to rule out the practical before you jump to the spiritual. Even myself, I have a list of questions. And when I talk to someone on the phone, when they want a clearing or they say their house is haunted or whatever, because like you said, it's not as common as you think it is. A lot of people think it is. And one of the questions, my first questions are, is there anybody in the home who is on medication? Is there anybody in the home who does hallucinogenic drugs? Is there anybody in the home who's been diagnosed with mental disability? And it doesn't mean that their home isn't haunted, but at least I can rule certain things out before I even decide to go. So I have all these lists of questions too. What are you seeing? When are you seeing it? How are you seeing it? And as a psychic, I do have that added skill or luxury of turning around and tapping in myself, right? So if I'm feeling or seeing something and they're saying the same thing, then I'm like, okay, you know what, this one I've got to at least go a little further about. Like I had a woman, as soon as I picked up the phone, I kept seeing this Amish man, right? And I saw his beard and I saw his glasses and I saw him, I could feel him. And she goes, I keep seeing, and we were talking and she kept saying, she goes, I see this Amish man in the kitchen. I wasn't really convinced until she said that. On the way to this house, I had to take the highway. 3 times I saw his face. 3 times I almost got into an accident.
Oh, wow.
Because he didn't want me to be there. It was a really interesting incident. And then once I got there, it exploded into something that was completely different. Again, very young in what I did, where I had to call a friend and go, come on over, you're 20 minutes away, need your help, come on, let's go. But again, that whole concept of you've got to go through your list of questions, because it's not just for you, it's for them as well, right? To make sure that we're all on the same page.
Yeah, and I do the same. When somebody contacts me, the first thing I do is a phone interview. Yeah. And we go through a bunch of questions, a bit of their history. Then I do a site visit, but not the investigation, but I like to go in and do a site visit. And part of it is also like, hey, where are we going to set up our tech? We have like a command center we set up, but it's a bit of a walkthrough. And I also go through with it with an EMF meter.
What's an EMF meter?
Electromagnetic field meter.
Okay.
This is actually one of the ones we use.
So for those of us who don't know what that is, or for those out there who don't know, what is an EMF and what is an EMF?
Electromagnetic field is sort of, how should I put it? Your appliances give off an electromagnetic field. Your television gives off a massive electromagnetic field.
And so do we.
And so do we. And high EMF levels can cause hallucinations. They can cause a sense of uneasiness. They can cause skin rashes. If they're high enough, they could even cause cancer. It's just, they're not great. So what we'll do is I have this as well as a gauze meter, which is basically gives you an actual number reading. And when we're doing the walk around, I'll be just checking the walls with this to see if there's anything going on with their wiring. Right.
And also I was just going to ask you, can that read be misinterpreted from wiring to spirit? Like, how would you know the difference?
Well, there's 2 lines of thought. The high EMF could cause you to hallucinate or have like an uneasy feeling. You could actually think that it's a haunting. And the other line of thought is that there is a haunting. You can use it as a power source to draw from.
Well, see, this is interesting because when I was there, what I really liked about technology, and I was saying this earlier, that, I was never one of those psychics to really do the technology thing. I really jived on it because I would get a sense or I would see something and then your equipment would go off. And I'm like, holy cow. Wow, this is like having a second psychic who's not a second psychic, because it's easy to have another human being go, oh yeah, I saw that. Oh yeah, I felt that too. Oh yeah, I did. But when it's a piece of technology that has no vested interest in what's going on, and like seconds after you or seconds before you feel and see the same thing, you're just like, okay, there's something to this stuff.
I love combining the 2 styles. I love combining abilities like yours with a tech like we have, because they sort of reinforce each other.
Yes.
There are some teams that will go no way to psychics, and there are some teams like psychics that will no way to tech. But you can combine them and they complement each other.
Yeah.
and they're confirming each other. That's fantastic. That's like,
It's exciting. And I'll tell you, I walked away from that session just walking on cloud nine. I was just like, I felt I had been going through, I have to tell you, I had been going through this, and we all go through this. I had a bit of doubt in my own abilities just before that. I had been going through something that, you know, sometimes helps to reinforce who you are, and sometimes it's really hard. And that night was so validating for me. And I need to, and I'm doing this publicly, I want to thank you for that, because it really helped me move through what I considered a healing crisis, because it was really, I was going through this weird phase, and that night was something I really needed.
well, you know, you have an open invitation. You do know that, right? Seriously.
Okay, you guys heard that, right? I have an open invitation. Okay.
You have an open invitation, and if we were able to help you like that, I am actually honored, and that's fantastic. And I'm glad. And I'll tell you, my team, they are in love with you.
Oh, I love them too.
They were just, you just blew them away.
Oh,
And also, like Darlene and Jen they've always thought they've had certain abilities, and you were able to reinforce that by saying, hey, actually what you're feeling is correct.
Because we did that. It was nice. Like, we did the session, but then we had those moments where we could just talk, right? And it was really, really cool. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Well, by the way, I owe you an apology, because like I said, I shushed you when you did a live that night.
Oh, that was so much fun. Oh my God, that was so cool. We actually didn't catch it on tape. He's like, she goes, oh, I hope we didn't get that on tape. I'm like, no, that was hilarious. I wish we had gotten it on tape.
It is. It's, if you listen to the audio really carefully, you actually hear you're talking, and then if you look at the camera, you see me get up and go, I walk over, and then you hear me go, guys, shh.
That's because I never shut up. That's why. That's because I never shut up. I want that piece of footage. Okay, we got to get back to the
You posted it. So did you have it?
What? Sorry, say that again.
You actually posted it. It's on your footage that you posted.
Oh, I did. Oh my God, I do remember that. Yeah, that was funny. I like that. That was funny. Go to Instagram at Raising Energy, and you will see that moment. I will.
Oh my gosh, I felt so. Yes, great. Sorry, carrying on. Yes.
No, you and I are having way too much fun. This is what I love, having you as a guest. You're going to have to come on again. Okay, so here's the thing. Walk us through a night. Now, you have your equipment. You've checked all your equipment.
Yes. One thing you'll see in a home of every paranormal investigator is the night before an investigation, there's not a plug free, because
you actually Instagrammed. I was going to mention
it. Everything is being charged, and you have a second bag full of just batteries, and you have batteries and extra batteries, and then just in case you have even more batteries. Because it's so common for equipment just to get dry, like your batteries just, you go from like full 100% to 0 within seconds. And when that happens, then the activity picks up. Yeah. But so you get everything charged, and then we go in, and what we'll do is we'll set up a command center. Okay, where's the best spot where we're not going to be, in the way, and we'll set up all our monitors. We go around, we set up cameras all around the house, our cameras. And the reason we go at night, everybody always goes, oh, is that when the haunting happens? No. If it's haunted at night, it's haunted during the day. The same thing is happening. We do it at night because your IR cameras are picking up so much more information in the dark than they are in the light. And also it's kind of cool. Really, it is kind of cool going through there in the dark.
It does. Come on, it sets the scene.
It does. Right? It kind of sets the tone. It sets the mood. But your IR cameras pick up so much more information in the dark.
Yeah.
And we got full spectrum cameras, and they just pick up. So that's why we do it at night. And then from that point, we'll sometimes we like to have a family member there. A lot of times we don't. But if we have a family member that's being sort of harassed, or then we'll say, well, why don't you come here, and we'll use you as a trigger.
Yeah.
And so then at that point, we'll basically set up teams. Okay. I love your cat, by the way.
I'm sorry. She's very vocal today. This is so vocal I've seen her on any of my shows. She really, really wants to be a part of it. Now, you have to understand, she is a healer cat. She's actually worked in ceremony. She's worked with spirits. She sees them. So if any show is appropriate for her to be this vocal on, it would be this one.
Okay, perfect.
So it makes complete sense. So I do apologize for her, but
you don't have to. You don't have to apologize. I'm a total cat fan. I have 3. So at that point, once we get all set, then we'll set up teams. Okay, who wants to be the first team? Usually I'll ask people, who wants to be the first team?
Yeah.
And then they get their and I like to send people through with a video camera and audio recorders. Because and we have things we call like a spirit box. You saw the spirit box that we use.
Okay, so tell everybody what a spirit box is, and then we'll continue with the story.
Yes, so this is a spirit box. This is an SP11 spirit box, and what it does is it has no antenna on it, and you set it up so it runs up and down the AM bandwidth. It just like almost like an AM radio, but goes up and down the dial with a millisecond at a time. You won't get any radio interfering with this because there's no antenna on it. But I have picked up voices on this. I've been told to F off on this. But I'm slowly starting to get away from it and get more with just using an audio recorder. You'd be surprised what you can pick up on.
How much you can catch. So does technology change? Is it like, IT computers, things like that, where technology just gets stronger and better and more expensive?
Yeah, it does. But also you experiment, you try different things, like you
find things that work for you better.
Yeah, like and you experiment with different devices. Like you saw this.
Yes.
Plasma globe. It's just a plasma globe. People use them for decoration. But also, when this thing is running, it will set off your EMF meter because it's a huge amount of EMF into the room. So what I do is I'll set it there and I'll say, if there's anybody here and you want to use it to draw energy from, you're more than welcome to.
Take it. You basically give them a beacon.
And you probably noticed that night you were with us in that room. We were getting a little bit of activity until we plugged this in, and then boom, and we were getting a fair amount of audio hits.
So now you have your meter, you're in the house, and then what happens?
Then we go from room to room, and it's not like you send the TV where they're, they're challenging things. And basically we go into each room and we sit down and we have a conversation. Hi, my name is Glenn. This is Darlene. This is Justin. This is Jen. Is there anybody here that wants to talk to us? We don't mean you any harm. We just want to get to know you. We want to know what you're about. We want to hear your story.
Yeah.
And we just invite whoever might be there to talk to us. Yeah. And most times, every once in a while, you will hear something, but most times you won't hear anything until after you're done and you spend hours with a set of headsets on and you go through all your audio. It takes days and days to go through every speck of audio that you have. And then you go to the next room, and then you'll try things as far as like doing a knock.
Yeah.
A knock. I mean, it sounds silly, but just, and you'd be surprised how often you get knock, knock, and you get it back.
Yep, for sure. Absolutely.
And we'll try dowsing rods. We'll pick up some dowsing rods and right here.
What's that?
Dowsing rods.
Your dowsing rods. Yes, your dowsing rods. Yeah, we use pendulums. Remember, I pulled out the pendulum, to check energy levels, what it is before the investigation, after the investigation, how it's changed, that kind of thing as well. So yeah, dowsing rods.
By the way, these things are really going off here.
We're bringing up the energy in the house. It's amazing.
Well, my house is active.
Yes. Yeah. And we know that for sure. I've actually had lives where things have come across and that kind of stuff. And I put it on my IG as well. So what about the owners? When you leave an investigation, do you do a follow-up with them to see how things are going?
And actually I'm about 3 cases backed up right now on evidence that I'm going through, which I feel horrible about, but we're still going through it. But what we'll do is we'll go through everything, which takes quite a long time.
Yeah.
And once we're done, we go back to the owner. We set up a meeting with the owner, and we just say, okay, here, if we find an audio, we'll clip it, we'll amplify it a bit, see if we can clean it up a bit, and go and we'll show them, here's what we found, or if there's any video. Yeah. And we give them a copy of everything. Yeah. And then we give them a copy of everything, all the raw video. Here's everything, and here's all the highlights that we found. And at that point, we'll give them some advice on how do you want to deal with this. A lot of people don't want to deal with it. They just want validation. They just want to know, like if I had, and what I find is women are more open to hearing and seeing things than men are. I do notice.
I find that, but I'm finding more and more men are now starting to become sensitive to it. Yeah. I know for our particular night, that was an interesting one for me because all they wanted was validation and confirmation, and so much more happened. does that happen often? Like when I came in, we ended up doing a crossing over and a clearing, and that, like, it was a production almost, from my end anyway. So do you come across that a lot where you have to clear it or send them to somebody who can do that work?
What we'll do is we'll recommend, we can come in and we can do a clearing of your home, or we'll say, or if you want to deal with it through your own faith, that's fine. A lot of times I tell people, taking ownership of your house will solve the problem so often. Just saying, like, this
Oh
is
yeah.
my home. You need to leave. You cannot be here. None of this. Hey, you can be here if you behave. No, none of that.
I had a 7-year-old psychic that I was talking to. And his mom said, I need you to talk to him. I said, so what happens in the house? He goes, oh, I don't have any problems. He goes, I instruct them. I tell them what to
Wow.
do and how they can be and behave in my house. And I looked at the mother and said, dude, you don't need me. You don't need me. But he had it going on, and that's it. Most times, 9 times, 8 times out of 10, it really is about taking ownership.
Oh yeah, we did have one time at a house, and the best way to describe it was like a huge, the sound of, it wasn't the actual physical wind, but the sound of a wind went through the whole house, through the whole
Yeah.
room. And
Mhm.
we just said, everybody's fine. You don't have to look after them anymore. They're fine. You can move on now. And
Yeah.
it was just like you heard it in your ears. It was like, whoosh,
Yep.
and it was gone.
And just, yeah.
And they've never had a problem since. And
Yeah, and and this is a very interesting thing, because I tout and teach all the time. We are all intuitive. We are all psychic to one degree or another. And before you even come to anyone like us, there are things that you can do. And these are the things we're talking about, because I think for me, my job is to empower people, right? To not only share knowledge, but to open them up to a part of themselves where they feel not only safe in their homes, but safe in themselves, right? And what you're saying is a huge step towards that, because here we are, spirit and science saying the same thing.
yep.
And I love that. And that's exciting. And, everybody knows I live with a wonderful, awesome human being who is IT and technology based. So my concept of spirit and technology now is shifting. And so to have you on as a guest and to be able to correlate our views, to me, that's exciting. Right? Like, that is really exciting to see how everything is beginning to coalesce and come onto the same path so that we can work together.
Yes, and that's amazing to be able to work together,
Yeah.
and not just dismiss a different way of doing things, but to embrace it.
Yeah.
And that
And it's okay to have that skeptic side.
Yep.
Both of us are doing this work, you from the technological intuitive point and me from the intuitive point, and both of us still have that skeptical side.
Mhm.
Right. And that's allowed. That's part of our human nature. And we can't dismiss that. And that keeps us healthy. And to some degree, it keeps us safe too.
Yes, absolutely.
Keeps us safe too. So that's awesome. So what is your favorite piece of technology? That's a hard one for you.
Right there.
What is it? What is this thing
Is
that
an
looks like
infrared-
R2D2?
It's an infrared video camera. It looks like a, what did you say?
So it kind of looks like R2D2.
There you go.
Like one of those
I-
units.
I love my camera, and honestly, I probably caught more evidence on my audio recorders than I ever have on my cameras. But I just love my camera.
Okay, so talk to me about this.
Well, it has night sight on it, on this camera. I have actually 2. This one here,
Mm-hmm.
and this one, actually, I have a camera on the top and a camera on the bottom. The one on the top is full spectrum. The one on the bottom is infrared. And this is strictly infrared. And there's something kind of fun for me to be going around in pitch black darkness. And the only thing you can see is in the little viewfinder off the side of your camera and going through. And but I've also gotten some amazing audio off of this as well. But
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's very, very rare that you catch something on video. It really
So,
is.
okay, what about that stick figure thingy
That would be
technology? I don't know their
SLS.
names, so I'm just going to call them thingies.
That's
What?
that's my SLS camera.
SLS. Okay, people, you got to tell people very quickly because we don't have a lot of time, but tell us about this. I call it the stick figure thingy.
Stick figure camera. This is something that's quite new in the field, and there's a lot of skepticism about it. And I'm
not skeptical about this. This is cool. I
actually built this one myself. And so what it does, it actually uses the camera here, this camera here at the base. This is actually a camera from a gaming system, from an Xbox gaming system. Now, those cameras are designed so that if you stand in front of the camera and move, it will recognize your form and it will move the game for you.
Yeah.
So the camera's designed to
Kind of like green screen, right? Kind of like green screen.
kind of like the same idea. So, but it also works in the dark, this camera. So, so the software I'm running, so basically if you point it at a person, it will trace them out like a stick figure. You'll actually see the room and you'll see the stick figure of the person.
Mm-hmm.
If it picks up on something that you can't see that is human shaped, it will trace it out like a stick figure. And that's sort of the premise. Now you have to be very, very, very careful, because I've seen people have a 20-minute conversation with a chair. Yes, I have, because it will pick up on something and you have to debunk
Okay.
crazy.
The reason I thought this was cool is because we did have a situation that was, again, undeniable. There was a suit of armor in the basement of this home, and we had seen, myself and another sensitive on your team, we both saw that there was a gentleman attached to this of a various height and like we described basically the same person. And at one point at the end, I believe it was near the end of our session, we actually saw him through this stick figure camera go up the stairs. Like he actually disengaged from the little group that was standing there. He disengaged from us and he went up the stairs.
I honestly thought at first we were getting a false reading, because I thought it was the banister. And when I first looked it up, no, that's just the banister. Then it stepped back and it ran up the stairs.
Yeah.
And that, okay, well, that gives it a bit more credibility.
Yeah, credibility, exactly.
Like I've used this once before, but one other time that I used it, I was at a restaurant. We were doing an investigation of a restaurant. The previous owner, who had passed away, was a heavy smoker. We weren't getting anything, so we took a cigarette and we put it on the table. Boom, 6 foot tall stick figure showed up. So on the video, you see me step in and go, "Hi, how you doing? My name is Glenn. Pleased to meet you." And it reaches over and it shook my hand.
Yeah.
And I could actually feel static on the palm of my hand.
Yeah.
It was doing that, and I thought, well, that's cool.
I was actually reading someone yesterday and I kept seeing a ring during the session. And so I thought very quietly to myself, I need this spirit to come in a little bit more. And so I felt the ring in my hand, right? Like that was just something I do. I felt the ring in my hand, and she came in and she put her hand on top of mine, and I could feel her skin, and I could feel her age, and I could feel, and then I got really emotional. I could feel her personality. And that's when the conversation really started. Right. So it's really cool when you do have those experiences where it becomes a tangible, and it's a gift, eh? Like those moments. See, that's the thing too. Everybody thinks that with this work, it's a 24/7 thing. You should see it and feel it and sense it and da, 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 da. But it's the moments. Yep. Those little pearls and those little gifts that were given that show us the other side exists, that moment when the gate opens for that split second or that few moments where you can touch tangibly the other side.
I had very quickly, I had a similar situation where we were at home, and they said, the woman at the home said, can we contact my brother? And I said, well, that's not what we do. We don't specifically go looking for anybody. We just pick on whatever's here. And so, but she had I handed her my K2, and she said, are you here? And it very gently just started to light up. And while we were there, the best way I can describe it, there was me and her. It felt like, because she just said, okay, it's okay, you can leave now. You can go pass on now. And we watched the light just slowly just go down. Yeah. It's gone. And while we were there, the best way to describe it was like something gave us a hug.
Yes.
And somebody snapped my picture, and her arm on her side and my arm on my side were blocked out. Like it was like arms around us.
Yeah. Isn't that beautiful?
I actually got a physical photo of that. Well, that's amazing, because we have confirmation.
It's the tangible, right? Yep. It's the tangibles. And we are a tangible society that needs that at times. Thank you so much for being, I'm sorry, you were going to say something.
Oh, no, I was going to say something really quickly. We're running into all the time right now is apps on your phones. Mm-hmm. They don't work.
One more time. Sorry, say that one more time.
There's phone apps, ghost hunting apps that people are, and we're constantly getting people contact. Oh, but I've got this app and I'm seeing.
No, you don't.
They don't work. And remember Pokemon Go? You saw monsters everywhere. Well, that's what the app's designed to do. Yeah. So I really like to stress to people, don't install an app on your phone and then go around your house and go, my gosh, I saw like ghosts everywhere. Because
if you really think something's going on in your house, I would really recommend connect with Glenn, connect with me, connect with us, and you can connect with Glenn. Where, Glenn, you tell us. Where can we catch you?
You can go to topshortregion.com, and on our website, you'll see our email address there, or go to our Facebook site, It is tops the Ontario Paranormal Society York Region chapter, and you can send us a message, and we respond usually within a couple of hours at the moment, really, and then we'll set something up. And if you're too far away for us to actually go to, we will put you in touch with a team that's closer to where you are.
Oh, perfect. Oh, I was going to ask you that. So thanks for mentioning it. And if you guys want to catch me, it's raisingenergy.com. And you can catch both Glenn and I on Instagram as well. You can catch me at Raising Energy, at Tops York, I believe is your Instagram handle. And we are so grateful to have had you here. Thank you so much. And we're going to sign off. So it's been wonderful having you, Glenn. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Please join us again next time on Raising Energy on Rogers TV.